Hello class again, welcome back. On today's lessons we will be learning how to create tables in our database. So in the previous lessons we have seen how we created a database and we ended up with this database which I was calling Tendo testing. So on our today lesson we'll be learning how to create tables within our database. So let me take you through how do we do that. It's very easy. You come here within your database. If it's already like this, just expand it already and then you'll find all of these options. Once you're in these options, you are only interested in what we call the tables. So if you expand again on tables, they should already be having some few folders which are for systems, and you have no interest at this stage to play around this. So just click on tables and then right click again. Then there will be an option here to add a new table. That's what we're going to do. So when it says new, we're going to say new table, and then it's going to open a page where it allows us to create a table. There is our page, and then we can start giving our table column names. You must remember a table is a combination of rows and columns. So we need to give it our column names, and then once we're done, we should save our table, and that should be all. So I'm going to think of a table we are going to create here. This table will be targeted at students. So my first column here maybe should be student, student number. So just say student num. I'll put this as an integer, and then the second one, maybe I want to give it a name. This maybe I could put it as a variable character. The last one maybe I don't want to put a lot of information, but you can go ahead and think about how many values can be found, how many columns does the student really have. You could have addresses, you could have cell phone number, you could have email addresses, you could have next of kin. You can play around those information. Don't just be stopped because of me. I stopped only at 3 columns. You can continue and have more columns yourself. So gender, I'm going to put it at varchar as well. Now let me explain some of the concept here. This becomes your column name, and then this becomes your data type. Now data types, you should be familiar with them from the programming side. You used to have your int, your double, your string, your float. They also exist on this side. Some of them have changed names already. As you can see, a string is now a representation of what we call varchar, and then you need to give it a size. How big should this string be? And the size here is in terms of characters. How many characters should this thing be? The same here with gender. Gender, maybe I don't have to accept maybe 50 because it's not that long. We can only have male and female. So we're going to edit here to say the size for this one should be 10. And then the last part you see here, it says allow nulls. Now the allow nulls constraint here says that if it's ticked, that means that you are allowed that when you are adding a student number is not really required, meaning it's optional. A person can enter student number or cannot enter student number. If you do the same with name, that means you will also be saying that your table on this row, on one particular row, is also allowing you to leave a space for name, meaning a name is also optional. The same with gender. If you give it a tick, you will be saying that your users are allowed to not have a gender or have a gender. And now this you need to be very careful about allowing nulls. It needs to be very special optional values that you are allowing nulls on. So things like a student number, I'm going to say no, this is a required field. Things like a name, no, it's a required field. Gender, I want the gender as well from my table. And from here, all you do is you press save. So when you press save, there are many ways to do this, but I prefer just saving it right here on this big blue button. If you press here, an option will pop up where you need to give it a name. Now the name must be corresponding with what you are storing inside, because this is what we call an entity. Now you need to give it the entity name here. So the name here, I'm just gonna call it student info because of what is being stored inside. So I can say student info and then press OK. That's it. Once you have that option done, you should have created your table within your database, and you can do as many tables as you want. So let's do a second one so that you can grab what's happening here. So you right click on tables, press new table, and then the second one, maybe let's call it facilitators, and I'm just going to say facilitator ID, and then names, and then maybe address. Right, so here facilitator ID, I'm going to put it as an integer. Facilitator name, I'm going to change this to become a varchar, and then the address as well, I will change it to become variable character. And maybe address is not really important, but the name is so important, as well as the facilitator ID. So here you will see the only new thing I changed here was that I've allowed nulls, meaning I've allowed nothing to be entered on address. This value for address become optional. And then I'm going to press save, and I'm going to call this table facilitator, and then press OK. Done. Now you might be wondering, where are these tables? These tables are right here inside this folder, just that now for you to be able to see them, you need to right click now, and instead of new, you need to say refresh. Then you will see those two tables that we just created. They are sitting right here. And then this is what we call the design of the table itself. This is the design of a table called facilitator, and this is the design of a table called student. If we close this and want to go back to the design, what we do, you right click on facilitator, it will give you options, and then you will go to design. It will bring you back where you started. If you do the same with student, you right click, you say design, it will give you the same options on student. That is the end of the lesson.